Good morning. Welcome, everyone. We are looking at the updated Dynasty rankings. I did these rankings last night. They are actually up and live on the fantasyfellowship.com. So typically for my Dynasty rankings, I do them once a month, usually at the beginning of each month. So today's February 28th, whatever I wanted. It was Friday yesterday, so I was able to get this done and up on the website. So this is the March update for my Dynasty rankings, and you guys can check these out at the fantasyfellowship.com. It's $8 a month for the member service, but I think the best deal is going to be the $50 for the entire year, which is a full calendar year. And it's going to get you access to a bunch of stuff on here as well. So the members content, you're going to get a bunch of separate articles, advanced data, rankings, and all kinds of good stuff here. So check out the fantasyfellowship.com if you guys want to see all these for yourself. But again, I personally think the best deal is the season package, where instead of paying $8 a month, you get the whole year basically at the price of 5 months, but basically 6 months, half a year. So there you go. We do have a drafters first round pick to make here too. So maybe before we get into the Dynasty rankings here, I am playing. I'm already doing early best balls. I've got a handful of drafters underway. They have a $10 early contest, and then Underdog's got a $1 contest that I'm going to keep probably just hammering. I don't really love the early contest just because I want to see where the rookies land. But either way here, I'm up at the 10 spot here in the first round. Bijan, Jameer Gibbs, Puka, Jamar Chase, JSN, CMC, Amon-Ra, Devon Achane, and Jonathan Taylor. So we got 5 running backs off the board and 4 wide receivers off the board here. My top available, CeeDee Lamb, Ashton Genty. We'll get to Ashton Genty later here, but I don't really love being in the back end of this first round, man. I kind of wanted one of these top 4 receivers. I kind of wanted access to one of these stud running backs, but to me, these are clear tier breaks heading into the season. So I guess I'm just going to take CeeDee Lamb here and call it a day. So we'll close that out, and let's get actually into the meat of the video. So we'll start with the quarterback rankings here. And I wrestled because I think last month I had Drake May as my QB1, and I thought about that a little bit yesterday, and I'm like, I'm still going to put Josh Allen up there because I still think Drake May has a way to go, and they still need to get him some improved weapons. They don't really have they have probably a bottom 10 wide receiver group right now in the NFL. A tight end group is fine with Hunter Henry and stuff, and we have a lot to improve here yet. And he's still pretty young, which I like, but he'll be my QB2. Josh Allen, I think I'm still going to leave as my QB1. Just we're in his Josh Allen's prime, 29, and hopefully they also upgrade the wide receiver position as well. The fact that he's been able to do the things he's been doing the last couple of years without Stephon Diggs, without a true alpha wide receiver one, I think is pretty sweet. Jaden Daniels for me is probably going to be one of my favorite players to buy this season. If you can get him in Dynasty in a trade, I think this is a good opportunity to get back in on Jaden Daniels. Also, just for redraft and best ball purposes, I think I'm going to be interested in Jaden Daniels quite a bit. I like the new offensive regime coming in, and then I also like the opportunity for them to upgrade the skill players around them. They're going to get hopefully a better running back. They're hopefully going to get another receiver or two. They already have Terry McLaurin, and I think Debo's a free agent this year. I can't remember. We'll touch on that in a bit. But for me, I think there's just so much room up for Jaden Daniels yet. Whereas Lamar Jackson, yeah, he's 29 years old, but with his style of play and the running quarterback style of play, I kind of ding that a little bit, just because we're getting up to 30 now. We don't really know how long of a future a guy like Lamar Jackson has with as many hits as he's been able to take. It seems like he misses a few games every year. We do have new offensive systems being installed in Baltimore this year as well. I love Zay Flowers, but after that, the offense is actually, Derrick Henry's another year older. Mark Andrews has been pretty lackluster. And then you think about just who else is going to catch the ball there. We need wide receiver help here for Zay Flowers. So I could argue that Joe Burrow might be more valuable than Lamar Jackson. I think just Joe Burrow, yeah, he's been injured in the past, but his style of quarterback play, I think, could hold up a little bit better than Lamar Jackson's style of play. So he's still an elite passer. We saw that a few years back. You still have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and I'm hoping that they also invest a little bit more at the wide receiver 3 position this year. We can't have Andre Yoshibas running all these empty routes. We need someone that can actually win some routes on field here. So that's the top 5 here. If I go a little bit farther, QB6, Justin Herbert, man, this one really excites me with Mike McDaniel. I think it's probably going to be hard to acquire Herbert in a trade right now, just with that, just the new coaching and everything that we got going on here in LA. But I I love the weapons. You got Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris, Oronde Gadsden, Amari and Hampton. Like that alone is an exciting reason to be interested in Justin Herbert. And on top of that, Herbert's just a really good quarterback. And I don't know if we've seen the best of him yet. We did see him play pretty well as a top 10 quarterback last year, but I feel really good about Herbert and what the Chargers have around him offensively. Whereas with Mahomes, it's kind of the opposite. I mean, Mahomes is still one of the best quarterbacks in football, but now he's coming off a bad injury. And just the weapons, we don't have Travis Kelce doing prime Travis Kelce things anymore. I think Kelce plays one more year here. But man, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown, we don't have the firepower at receiver that I think we need to get Mahomes up a little bit higher for me. I think just Rashee Rice in general is just a head scratching guy with all his off field issues. And Xavier Worthy kind of took a step back last year. So just injury concern for his first year back with this knee injury and just dwindling offensive weapons. They don't even have a real running back behind him. Jalen Hurts at QB8. Now, I really like Jalen Hurts, but we finally saw him kind of take a step back a little bit last year. You also have the potential for A.J. Brown to be leaving Philadelphia as well. I mean, I could argue that Jalen Hurts, maybe I'll take him over Patrick Mahomes here just because I know Hurts is in the short term here entering the season healthy. But I think that to me is a tier right there, Herbert, Mahomes, and Hurts. I have no issues with Jalen Hurts. I might have him too low, honestly. And then this is my favorite little next run of quarterbacks right here. I'll even put Brock Purdy in there. You have Caleb Williams, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, Jackson Dart, Brock Purdy. This was a hard group for me to rank. I mean, I think Jordan Love and Caleb Williams, like those two guys, we haven't even seen their best football yet. We did see Trevor Lawrence's maybe his best football that last run, November into December. We saw Trevor Lawrence play elite football, running the ball and just racking up touchdowns with that receiver group. Bo Nix is still young, but we've seen him play really well in stretches as well. And then Jackson Dart just being 22 and some of the numbers that he put up in the games last year. And some of these, numbers were without Malik Neighbors, and we're adding Malik Neighbors back. We're getting Cam Scatterbo back healthy. Just the entire New York Giants identity is going to change this year with Harbaugh coaching there. So Dart is extremely, extremely interesting. And then Brock Purdy, who, man, I wish the 49ers could catch a break. George Kittle goes down with was it the Achilles? Brandon Ayuk's just not going to play football for them or maybe anyone else. I don't know where he's going. So we need some wide receivers in San Francisco. Ricky Pearsall, I thought, was an interesting prospect last year. He just couldn't stay healthy. And then Jawan Jennings was ending up as their wide receiver 1. But I think Brock Purdy, if they improve their weaponry a little bit in the offseason, whether it's free agency or the draft, I think he might be one of the best buys. Because when he's healthy, Brock Purdy plays as a QB1, and people just kind of keep him there in that QB2 range of quarterback 13 to 18. But Caleb Williams, fantastic season last year, and I just think there's more on the bone for him to get into higher levels of fantasy points per game. So DJ Moore, Luther Burden, Rome Odunze, Colston Loveland, the backs, like it's a very, very good offense. And it kind of reminds me, honestly, a little bit about Justin Herbert's style of offense where, we have 3 receivers, we have a tight end, and we have a running back or 2 that we feel really good about. So Caleb Williams might be hard to buy, but I think he is, I could maybe argue that Caleb Williams should be ahead of Mahomes and Hurts at this point, just because, he's only 24 years old. Now, Jordan Love, I'm just hoping and praying, I'm a Packer fan, so that is probably my downfall. with my Jordan Love ranking, but he played some really good football. He actually had a really good football game in the playoffs here, and they just couldn't seal the deal against Chicago at the end. But if the Packers decide to just open up the passing game just a little bit more, a little less running with Josh Jacobs, man, I really like the group. You have Tucker Kraft coming back. You have Jaden Reed. Christian Watson looked pretty dang good. You have a rookie that they didn't even use last year, Matthew Golden. Um, we'll see if Romeo Dobbs comes back, but for the most part, I think Jordan Love and his group of weapons is also pretty dang good. Trevor Lawrence, man, he kind of was he was he was on a heater at the end of last year with those rushing touchdowns and just the upgraded offensive style for him. He really found a way to mesh and take control of Liam Cohen's offense throughout the year. It was a bit of a bumpy start, but man, once he got into his groove and once they get Jacoby Myers on that team, they were a completely different team and Trevor Lawrence was a different player. So only 26 years old still. And I think he is a potential buy low. I don't need to talk much about Bo Nix. I like Bo Nix. I really don't like Sean Payton. But I like the group around, I like the group of players around Bo Nix quite a bit. Cortland Sutton's getting up there, but they have that weird group of receivers, whether it's Troy Franklin, Marvin Mims, um, the rookie Patrick was making plays. Um, the tight end group needs to be improved. I think Evan Ingram was kind of an afterthought last year, and I thought RJ Harvey looked really good. But there's a lot of pieces there that I like around Bo Nix, and yeah, he can run. And then we already touched on Dart and Purdy. And then I'm just going to leave this up here, and we'll move to the running backs in a little bit. We'll just kind of shout out some things. I might be too low on Sam Darnold. I mean, just coming off a Super Bowl, and I think they're going to get healthier on offense here. I really wanted to see what Torrey Horton would do in this offense. I think he's going to be a guy that helps them in a little bit. But for the most part, you have just arrow pointing up for Sam Darnold in the Seahawks offense in general. CJ Stroud, I might have too high, honestly, at QB 16. I am concerned. I just don't really like the offense in Houston. And Stroud is kind of, had a great rookie year and just has not really been able to come close to what we saw that rookie season. Cam Ward actually showed me, as bad of a year as it was in Tennessee, he actually showed me quite a bit that he could be a functional high-end QB in this league here. And they just need weapons. That's really all they need. Just keep building the offensive line. Just keep adding talent around him, and good things can happen for Cam Ward. Bryce Young, maybe Bryce Young finally hops CJ Stroud in my rankings next month, because we had that long debate where CJ Stroud went after Bryce Young in the draft, and everybody was kind of clowning the Panthers. But Bryce Young actually looked pretty good. And that's part of that is because they're starting to add good weapons around him. They give him a wide receiver one. You add a couple hits at running back, you add a couple hits, to secondary receivers, and all of a sudden Bryce Young actually looks like a competent NFL quarterback. So I have good feelings about Bryce Young being a solid quarterback too, for at least this year, and then we'll kind of go from there. I'm lower on Baker Mayfield, Jared Goff, and Dak Prescott, just mainly because of age and their style of play. Like they're not going to get enough rushing points. Mayfield might still get some points. Goff doesn't get any. And then Prescott just entering, his prime 30s here, still going to pass a lot. And these guys, these two here, I mean, you want to talk about buy lows in Dynasty just because of their age. People might just be like, yeah, I'll take a second round pick for them. These guys might be very good targets for trade candidates. And then down here, I'll just kind of show you. I think Malik Willis, man, whether he's in Arizona, Miami, wherever he ends up, probably not the Raiders, but I think Malik Willis could be a little bit of a cheat code. So if you have the ability to trade for Malik Willis before he signed somewhere, that would probably be what I would be going for. And then I still like Tyler Shuck, Daniel Jones, and some older guys down here. But we spent a good, 12 minutes on the quarterbacks. Let's just kind of breeze through these running backs here. And we've seen a bit of a shift these last few years towards running backs just being dominant. If you have the running backs, you're probably going to win your fantasy league. So to me, it's a no-brainer at the top, Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs. You could interchange these two guys. I just think Bijan's style of play suits my preferences to be the running back one. And I don't know if Tyler Algier is going to stay around all this time, but Atlanta is going to build and continue to build their entire offense around Bijan Robinson. And he's such a good receiving back. He's just a good all-around back. With Jahmyr Gibbs, I mean, he kind of took over last year, and David Montgomery kind of just, getting older, became an afterthought. Jahmyr Gibbs, no issues with these two guys. You can put them in any order you want, but I'm going to leave them like that. And then we get into this. To me, this was kind of the next tier where I'm just like, Jonathan Taylor is still 26. Maybe I should move him up a little bit. I don't know what the quarterback situation is going to look like in Indianapolis this year with Daniel Jones coming back from injury. I'm assuming he might be a PUP list guy, and maybe we get Daniel Jones re-signed with the Colts and back, maybe by October. But that's, out of JT's control. I don't think I should ding him in that for my rankings. If anything, it's more of just the age thing. I'm looking at a running back that's 22 years old, a team that's going to get probably Fernando Mendoza and just continue to build their offensive line and get better on offense. And I did see the quote by Kubiak saying, we're going to go RB by committee, kind of what he did in Seattle, which would be devastating. So I might have to rethink this. And if anything, maybe I go like that, because I mean, I think for the next 2 years for sure. I don't know about the next 3 years, but the next 2 years for sure, I think Jonathan Taylor and James Cook's outlook are going to be significantly more than Ashton Genty. So maybe that's where I sit at. And then with Achane, I'm curious what the quarterback situation looks like heading into the season. I'm curious about what the offensive weaponry looks like around him. I want to see a lot of offensive talent injected into Miami. And Achane is still an amazing player, and he's going to be the entire focal point of that offense. So I could see him doing some Jahmyr Gibbs-like numbers over the next couple years. So that's going to be my ranking update there. With Genty and Hampton, the Chargers were reluctant to give Hampton the full workload early in the year, and then you have Najee get hurt, and then Hampton gets hurt just when we thought we were going to get the big breakout. But Hampton came back decently strong, and I'm hoping this offseason they kind of recommit to him as being just the lead back here. But those two guys, both only 22 years old, really, really exciting young running backs. And then we get to, these are where like the hard questions start coming. So I still think my guy, and here I got the Bucky's mug, but Bucky Irving, man, Tampa Bay. I think Rachaad White's going to leave Tampa Bay, which will open things up for Bucky Irving. It'll also open some things up for Sean Tucker to be the running back too there, who I'm kind of interested in. In best ball, I've been drafting Sean Tucker. But we could see Rachaad White go somewhere and be a running back too, a complement back to a starting back, which could be pretty exciting. So Bucky, to me, one of those guys that just had a lost season last year. Is kind of Tampa Bay as a whole had a lost season, and still a young player. He's going to get healthy again and continue to be a really good player. Now, RJ Harvey, I don't know what the Broncos are going to do, but I'm assuming they're going to either bring back J.K. Dobbins or sign another big back to complicate this backfield as Sean Payton does. But RJ Harvey, when he finally got on the field as the lead back, he was a top 10 running back in fantasy football. So he looked really good, great receiving skill set. I want Sean Payton to stop messing with these Jaleel McLaughlins and these other running backs that just, steal snaps and a few touches. Let's get some more heavy workloads here for your stud players. Now, Kenneth Walker, you could argue Kenneth Walker could be a little bit higher here after his playoff and Super Bowl run with Zach Charbonnet. I just don't know. I think Charbonnet had his surgery in early February, and I'm assuming, you go 9 months out for that, at least 9 months out for him to even think about getting on the field. That puts him in November. So there's a chance we might not even see Zach Charbonnet in the season of 2026. So Walker might have a fantastic 2026 season. And who knows, new offensive coordinator, maybe they finally just commit to the full Kenneth Walker experience, and we'll see. Maybe Charbonnet's not the same player as he was too after this injury. Breece Hall, not sure what's going to happen with him. We'll see if he returns to the Jets or if someone pays him to be their lead back. Quinshon Judkins coming off that injury. It sounds like he's going to be fine to start the year. And I'm a little bit excited in Cleveland. I think Cleveland has a chance to do some nice things this year. Whether it's Sanders, they keep whispering about Deshaun Watson too. But I really like some of the young players on this offense, and Judkins is going to continue to get the ball. So he's more of a volume play. Travion Henderson, I might have too high, honestly, because I don't know. Like as long as Ramondre is healthy, man, they're going to continue to use Ramondre. So I might, maybe I'm too high here, and I just move him down just a notch or two. Because Chase Brown last year, it took a little while for them to get going with Joe Burrow getting hurt, and they tried the backup quarterback, and then they went to Flacco, and it started looking good, and then Burrow comes back, and all of a sudden Chase Brown, is just getting touchdowns, racking up catches, just doing what he does. They don't really have any depth behind him. So he is the main guy. I just don't know how long it's going to last. So I guess the 2 to 3 year outlook for Chase Brown is murky. The Christian McCaffrey experience, maybe a year off in 2024 did him some good. Maybe he can still play it at a high level for another season or two. He's still a first round pick in best ball leagues here. So you're at least getting one more elite season out of him. And I think the 2027 season, maybe he's more of a low end RB1, RB2, just he'll be on the wrong side of 30 at that point. And then we get this run of running backs here that I'm not quite sure what to do because I like these guys. The 1 year outlook to 2 year outlook looks good for them, but after the 3 year outlook, I get a little bit questionable. But Jacobs, taking a ton of carries and volume on his body. I might be looking to move Josh Jacobs if I have him. Just it's been a lot of a lot of wear and tear on Josh Jacobs in the past. Whereas Travis Etienne still has some good football left in him. I think Kieran Williams does as well. We are seeing more Blake Corum in 2025 than we did in 2024. And then Javonte got the big deal in Dallas, and he looked pretty good. So I maybe would argue Javonte gets moved up. Maybe even Javonte goes ahead of Travion because I just think that Dallas offense looked pretty good with Javonte. So I'd be curious to buy him. Scatabo, coming back off injury, I would like to believe that he'll be the lead back in New York, but we could see a committee with Tyrone Tracy. I still think Tyrone Tracy is a good player, a good receiving back for sure. But I'm going to assume that in the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be the Scatabo show in New York. Jalen Warren maybe gets one more year as the lead back in Pittsburgh before they figure something out. DeAndre Swift, maybe gets one more year of nice RB2 numbers in Chicago. Saquon Barkley, and these are guys that I'm probably willing to sell if I can get out of them this year. Like this might be the last year where they have that top end name value and people still think they're worth, a low end RB1 or whatever. But this is where I struggled after the big dog, old dogs there. You got Monungai, Dowdle, who I think could get a shot to be a free agent signing somewhere. Bashal Tutin, man, we got to watch with the Jags. Because if ETN does not go back to Jacksonville, Bashal Tutin all of a sudden is going to shoot up my rankings. I think Blake Corum is going to be an exciting handcuff heading into 2026. And I'm willing to buy him just because if anything, Kieran's been pretty healthy throughout the last 3 years. And if anything happens to him, I think we're all ranking Blake Corum pretty high. I might move Charbonnet down. I might even do something like that just because I think these guys and Woody Marks is hard because he was fine last year. He was not a great back in Houston, but Houston just had so many other problems with their offensive line and whatnot. Where I think Houston probably brings in some running backs this year, whether it's the free agents or the drafts. Like, put Breece Hall on Houston Texans and let's see what happens. So I'm nervous about some competition added there. Again, I might be too low on Ramondre Stevenson, but he's a little bit older. Kenneth Gainwell, man, if they keep that back in Pittsburgh going, the Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell backfield, that looked pretty good. I think they should keep that around. Not sure what's going on with Chuba Hubbard. If they don't bring back Rico Dowdle, maybe I have to move Chuba Hubbard up here because they did pay him a pretty nice chunk of money. But then we got these veterans here that I'm not quite sure what to do with. I think these guys are going to continue to be, frustrating RB2s, probably more guys that would be best traded at this point. And then we get to the young guys that I think I'm not quite sure what to do with. I don't know what to do with Trey Benson and that whole Arizona offense. I just don't know if he's going to ever become the guy that we thought he was going to be. Dylan Sampson kind of excites me the most because we saw glimpses of him last year look really good. And I believe Jerome Ford's not going to be with the Browns anymore. So I'm assuming Sampson's the clear RB2, and he might just be the third down back and be an interesting speed player for them. Maybe Tajay Spears gets more involved in 2026 over Tony Pollard. Jordan Mason's fine, as you know, these two guys right here, Mason and Algier. You never know when they're going to pop off, but they're going to pop off for some games. And then we got some a run of veterans here: Dobbins, Harris, Rashad White, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, James Conner. These guys, I'm actually open, maybe with the exception of Kamara and Jones, and maybe Connor comes back. I don't know what to do with these guys. If you're trading away these guys, you're probably getting crappy third and fourth round picks. So maybe they're better left on your roster for at least one more year, and we see what happens. But the guy that I'm most interested in here is Sean Tucker. I think that backfield in Tampa Bay could look really nice with Tucker and Bucky Irving as being the lead guys here. So we're going on about 26 minutes. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Let's look at the receivers here. These are my top 12 Dynasty receivers. I think Jamar Chase, JSN, Puka, that is, to me, the tier 1 for my wide receiver rankings. And you can kind of flip these in either way. I think the way I have them right now is because Jamar Chase, I think he is the number 1 talented wide receiver, and he's attached to Joe Burrow. JSN, only 23 years old. He just put up a monster season, and he was just amazing last year, and I think he could get better this season. And then with Puka, I think pound for pound might be just as good as Jamar Chase at the receiver skill set. But I have concerns on Matthew Stafford. I think Stafford plays 2020, he's playing in 2026, but we just don't know about afterwards. So to me, I think I have the stability more with Chase and JSN. And then after that, I think this right here, Neighbors, Lamp, Jefferson was my next tier. I think Neighbors coming back. He's still really, really young. He's entering his 3rd year in the league, and he's only 22 years old. He might turn 23 at some point. Lamb and Jefferson, both receivers in their prime. They might have already cashed in their best seasons over the last few years, but they still have at least 1 or 2 more elite, maybe 3 more elite years left in them here before they get into their 30s. And then Drake London, I have huge quarterback questions. Whether, is Penix going to be the guy long term? Can he stay healthy? Penix has had all those injuries in college and whatnot. But London had moments last year where he looked like an alpha dog. Amon-Ra St. Brown continues to be too low in my rankings. I might actually have to, maybe I do that, because Brown just continues to produce points and stay healthy and be Jared Goff's number 1 weapon. Now, Chris Olave, I might be higher on Chris Olave than most, but I always thought Olave was an elite receiver. And last year, we finally got some numbers that showed that with Tyler Shuck. And who knows, maybe Tyler Shuck isn't the answer long term. He is the answer for 2026. And Olave, he put on if you had Chris Olave on your fantasy teams last year, you might have won a championship because he was just on a roll there in November and December. Now, Nico Collins, I might be willing to move Nico down because he was one of my guys that I talked about, which is a free article here on the fantasyfellowship.com for you guys. If you just go over to the article tab under content, I did write up a list of dynasty sells, and Nico Collins was one of them, which it's always scary selling some of these elite players, but I have health concerns with Nico Collins. I have CJ Stroud concerns. I have just Houston offensive line and just talent around Houston. I don't know. I might be willing to move Nico Collins if I can get, if I can swap him out for George Pickens 1-for-1, or even Ladd McConkey or some of these other players just behind him. I'm willing to do that. Or if I can get, a top 5 pick or something like that, I think that would play too. But George Pickens, he's going to get the franchise tag in Dallas. He's going to continue to be a low-end wide receiver one that's going to have those boom-bust weeks. But Ted McMillan, man, he, up and down season, if you look at the numbers closely, it's not a great season, but it was a good rookie season. And I think we can expect him to get better and continue to move up these rankings into as I get closer to summer. Now, Ladd McConkey might be an easy buy for me, just with the down year last year. I think Keenan Allen back on the team really hurt Ladd McConkey, and Keenan Allen's going to be another year older. Who knows if he even comes back? I think Ladd McConkey's an easy buy. I think Garrett Wilson's also a pretty easy buy. We have the stink of the Jets around him. No quarterback really on the roster right now. I think the Jets, they're going to try and figure some things out at the quarterback position. But Garrett Wilson, when he's healthy, he had some pretty big games last year and he can play pretty much anybody. So he's the alpha receiver over there. I want to buy him. I don't like Rashi Rice, dude. This guy is a knucklehead. Now, my Brian Thomas fail last year, I don't know what to do with this because, I could see Brian Thomas being ranked more around here. Igbukah, Flowers, Higgins, Devonta Smith, AJ Brown, and then Brian Thomas. I still want to believe that Brian Thomas can enter this season healthy. That he kind of came into the season hurt, and then he gets hurt right away, and just it was just a lost season for Brian Thomas Jr. But he did look good, better towards the end of the year. So maybe I bump him down a bit, but I'm expecting more Mika Igbukah consistency in 2026. I might be too low on Zay. Like I should maybe move Flower. I would probably put Flowers there. Okay, so and then with Higgins, I might be too low on Higgins again. Honestly, like I could see Higgins up here by Pickens, McMillan. Like he's only 26. He's got 2 to 3 elite years left in him as well. Now this one, the Philadelphia receivers, I'm assuming AJ Brown plays elsewhere in 2026. And that might make me move up Devonta Smith and maybe even Dallas Goedert in my rankings. But it could also make me move up AJ Brown depending on where he goes. So we'll watch for that. I really struggled with the Bears receivers. I think I want Luther Burden long term over Rome Odunze. It was a really weird year for Odunze. He came out the gates hot. And then he kind of just falls off the earth into October, November. He gets hurt and just wasn't able to do anything, in December and January. Whereas Burden looked better and better and better as the year went on. You also have Colston Loveland, looking really good, and DJ Moore looking good too. Marvin Harrison, still a little bit optimistic with Harrison that they can get a quarterback in here to figure it out. It did look better with Jacoby Brissett, so maybe if we do improve that quarterback spot, maybe Marvin Harrison can kind of get back to the high elite prospect that we thought he was. Jameson Williams, man, it was a weird year because the numbers look good if you look at the whole numbers, but if you kind of dig in and see some of the box scores and stuff, you're a little frustrated. But he did get better as the year went on. I think Jacoby Myers, man, he's only 29 years old. He is, I guess, only, he's right at that sweet spot where we get nervous about players starting to go down. But they gave him an extension. They like him there. They love him there. Jacoby Myers might actually be a really good buy for your dynasty team. If you're a contending team right now, go sniff around Jacoby Myers and see what you can get. I think Jalen Waddle, he was able to stay healthier in 2026. He's going to be the lead receiver. I might be too low on Waddle. Same thing with Christian Watson, man. Like he looked dominant at times last year with that first year back from that knee injury. He might be just the alpha receiver in Green Bay and just that big play guy. And honestly, maybe I need Christian Watson and Jalen Waddle and stuff up a little bit. I'm curious to see if Wan'Dale Robinson stays in New York or if he gets paid elsewhere. He's a really good player. I think last year he showed that he's more than just a gadget slot guy. He did have some deep ball stuff and some longer plays. Jaden Higgins, man, I'm low on Nico Collins, but I'm very high on Jaden Higgins. I'm excited to see what he can do in year two. And then we just get to this weird run of, some aging players. Addison, he's in the knucklehead bucket with Rashi. Like him and Rashi Rice are just driving a knucklehead bucket car around the United States, just, getting misdemeanors and stuff. But Metcalf, Sutton, McLaurin, these guys are good, buy low vets, for the next 1 to 2 years. Quentin Johnston improved dramatically last year, and I think there could be another step forward for him. He's going to continue to be, up and down with his box scores. And then Alec Pierce, man, he might be the prize free agent or wide receiver entering the year. Very excited to see where he plays. I think I'm still buying Ricky Pearsall and Jaden Reed. I might have Travis Hunter too high, man. I just don't know if there's room for him to be a valuable fantasy asset at the receiver position in Jacksonville. You have Jacoby Myers, you have Brian Thomas Jr., you have Parker Washington, and Hunter would be that kind of number 4 guy. I might have even forgot another receiver or two there, but coming off the injury, maybe we see him play more cornerback. I don't know. I might be willing to move on from Travis Hunter. And again, I mentioned Parker Washington, who I like. I'm not quite sure what to do with Michael Wilson, just because, he just had this epic run with Jacoby Brissett. I don't know if that's lightning in a bottle or if that's just the tip of the iceberg here, and he's all of a sudden a really good fantasy player. But I do have a lot of aging players kind of here around wide receiver 50. I think I'm buying Matthew Golden, Trey Harris. I might even buy Adonai Mitchell, who could be a nice outside receiver for New York if he stays there. And then I will mention some guys that I like down here. Pat Bryant. I called him Patrick earlier. It's Pat Bryant. He was one of the guys that I liked. I really liked Torrey Horton because he was kind of looking like a nice big play guy for them. I don't know if Cooper Kupp's going to be much on the field in 2026, but Torrey Horton could be a nice wide receiver for them. And then we just got all the vets piled there at the back. Okay, let's finish up with tight ends here. In the tight end group, man, if you don't have a tight end on this page, like you need to figure something out because this is one of the hardest positions to just have a guy you can set it and forget it in. I think Bowers and McBride are the lone unicorns at the top. But this group of rookie tight ends last year, Loveland, Fannin, and Tyler Warren. If you grabbed one of those guys in your fantasy drafts, your rookie drafts, you're feeling really good. I have them ranked as top 5 dynasty assets. Now, I still think this group right here is the other sweet spot. Kraft got injured, but he was looking like a top 5 dynasty tight end. Kyle Pitts, the way he finished the year last year, and it looks like they're going to bring him back. I don't know if they're going to franchise tag him or what, but he's going back to Atlanta. I think he's going to continue to be a potential top 5 tight end. And then with Laporta, he had the neck injury. I'm actually a little bit concerned about this being more of a long-term thing. I might be willing to move on from Laporta. He had a magical rookie season and then a little bit of regression last year, and then he gets hurt last year. So I don't know what to do with him. You have also George Kittle, rehabbing a serious injury at age 32. So that leaves me this group of players right here. Dalton Kincaid popped in almost all the advanced metrics in my data study, which you guys can check out on the fantasyfellowship.com if you're members. I think Oronde Gadsden can take a huge leap this year, especially if Keenan Allen goes away. Like Glad McConkey and Gadsden, those guys are going to continue to eat in the middle of the field. I'm selling Jake Ferguson. He was in my sell article just because he's coming off of a huge year with touchdown spikes and everything else kind of spiked for him. But he's going to continue to be. He's by no means a great tight end, but he's a reliable tight end, kind of a guy that you can just plug in and hope for a touchdown and get your 4 for 50 at minimum. Brenton Strange, a guy that I think Jacksonville likes quite a bit and looked pretty good for most of the season when he was out there. And then I think the biggest hype guy for me, guys to buy low on, are Terrence Ferguson. I thought Mason Taylor held his own last year as a rookie. I'm not quite sure about Theo Johnson, but he did look good for pieces. AJ Barner had an elite playoff run, and then Isaiah Likely, because he's going to be a free agent somewhere. And then we just have this huge group of veterans that I just don't know what to do with. I do want to mention Gunnar Helm looked good last year at times, and I think Chigo Okonkwo, if he leaves, Gunnar Helm's left as the tight end 1. He might be a sleeper for me entering 2026. But if you guys want to check out the fantasyfellowship.com, you guys can go see the full. I have the 1 quarterback rankings here. This will be your top 12 for 1 quarterback rankings. And then I do have the Superflex rankings. My Superflex rankings are a little bit different than most because I kind of devalue quarterback just a little bit. If you use my rankings to draft Superflex, and you're going to get more of those, those later round, I guess, QB2 type values, because I don't like to pay up for quarterback usually. But you guys can check that out on the fantasyfellowship.com. I want to say thank you for hanging out with me this morning. If you guys like this video, I can do, if this helps, like I can do this dynasty ranking video every month going forward when I do get them out, so I can kind of talk about the updates and the things like that. I'm going to get the rookies updated. The rookies, so I think April 1st, I'm going to have separate rookie rankings because I don't want to throw them into my main rankings without knowing where they land. To me, that's kind of like a waste of time. It's a waste of, it's almost like a mock draft really at that point. So I'm going to have separate rookie rankings in April. And then in May 1st, I will have the rookies mixed in with all the other dynasty rankings. So we have that to look forward to. But it's February 28th. We're entering March tomorrow. We have a really fun day at the NFL Combine. I think we have quarterbacks, wideouts, and running backs going today. We had the tight ends yesterday. So a lot of good stuff happening. We're entering that sweet zone of the NFL season, free agency right around the corner. We made it. We're almost to the NFL draft. So I have if you do look into the membership, I will be. I think April 1st is when I'm going to put out my. I'll have the rookie, rankings out as well. But I've been studying the rookie class, and I have a huge database set that will get released for members on there too. So check that out. And thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. Enjoy the Saturday. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.